Love and longing. In all, there were 25 different barless women that were arrested. The armory had 200 weapons, the parts to cobble together another 30, and the bombs were at the end of the tunnel that Vernon had spotted but ignored. From the looks of it, the plan was to tunnel under the streets and other houses and detonate the large load of fractal grenades. They had about 50 of them linked up as a single larger explosive. The amount of damage such a bomb could do was debatable, but it was still a legitimate bomb threat, and it was also incomplete and angled in an odd way. Either they're going the wrong way entirely, or they're trying to avoid the basements of other people. You could have handled those children better. Mironoir chides him and he nods. Yes. In the moment I was too focused on not scaring them or even touching them if I didn't have to. I forgot myself for a moment and wasted time. I should have promised them all safety, knocked them out with Axiom, and had them all wake up in soft beds later. Then tell them I fulfilled my promise. It still would have pissed off the older sisters, but it would have worked. I was too focused on the fact I just fought and beat their protector right in front of them all, Vernon says, and she bumps her bare hip into him. A full circle of her clothing has been stripped away in a clear circle that reveals most of her right thigh. "Excuse me, Lady Princess? Merciful sorcerer?" an officer asks, and they look toward the woman in question. The Harcool are racing through the streets, intent on burning down the Barlees' house. "What?" Vernon states. Not asks. States. But their enemies have been, the first call came from a Harcool, and the girl who called it in no doubt just told the rest of her family that she's responsible for them all being arrested and they're on their way to raid their enemies while they're gone. They've done this before. Both sides have. It's why we brought an entire APC. "I see. How many Harcool are inbound?" Mironoir asks. 33, Officer Finry Gore says. "Is that all?" Vernon asks. "It is," the officer says. "From which direction do they come?" "Northeast. Now please, both of you, please minimize collateral. We're here to restore order through police action, not shatter our enemies and the ground they walk on, or inspire legends of retribution and horrifying punishment." "I'm not Bryn Char, and I'm not bringing him in on this," Vernon promises her, and he can see her outright calm down. "Although, before I rush off, why did you crash your APC into a tree on purpose? It's a strange thing to do, to say the least. About a generation back, we hit one by accident while trying to break up a fight between the Barless and Harcool. It got them both to surrender, so we've been doing it on purpose since, and it's calmed them down right away every time since. But this time we had a much stronger tree to contend with," Finry Gore says, and Vernon nods. "Right, well, Vernon begins before Mironoir starts pulling a huge amount of Axiom into a Kutha totem she had hidden on her person. Light erupts around her and then dies down to reveal her once more in her battle ball gown, crown and her makeup washed away to reveal her natural beauty. "Well, I'm not going to be left out," Vernon says, running his hand through his hair, and vines grow down through it and then slowly grow down his body to create a long cape of woven leaves and vines as more vines wrap around him to tuck in the soft clothing and shape armor plates out of wood, cord, and leaf. "It's not a competition, love," Mironoir says, kissing him on the cheek. "I wasn't competing, darling. I don't want to bring you down by looking sloppy." Vernon replies, and she laughs daintily. "You could never bring me down, darling. I know you too well," she assures him. "As sweet as this is we," Finry Gore says, before a plume of plasma launches into the sky, followed by several others. "And they have plasma weapons. Great. Not an issue for us. We'll take care of this," Vernon promises before Mironoir nods and then blurs towards the source of the plumes of plasma. Vernon is closely behind her. They both have Axiom flow through them, and the world slows down to their perceptions as they begin to truly move. 4. Harkul are down before Miro Noir or Vernon are even spotted. There's a scream as numerous blunt, dark forest wooden darts slam into the stomachs of women and send out a knockout effect on contact. Vernon keeps conjuring more even as his beloved Miro Noir rushes through the crowd and literally slaps knockout effects onto people. It's over in moments. A rabble of blood-thirsty women not expecting retaliation and without a house to hide inside or around do not have any protection against the two. Miro Noir considers with a hand on her cheek as she thinks. Is something wrong, my love? Vernon asks as his blunted darts sprout and grow into constricting vines just in case one of them is unusually resilient to knockout effects and comes to. He tosses extra little blunt darts onto the women that his wife knocked out so no one moves without his say-so. Just considering, we should check their home as well in case they have a similar setup to the children of the Barleys, she says, and Vernon nods. That is a very good point, my love. I'll bring these women to hold up and you can ask for directions while I'm busy with that. He promises her, and she nods. Thank you, darling. That would be greatly appreciated, Miro Noir says before pausing and concealing an amused smile. Is something funny? Vernon asks. Oh, just how odd this must look to the outside. You're so eager to get so much done that I can feel lazy at times. Miro Noir notes. We're a team, dear. We make each other all the better, Vernon assures her. I know. That's what makes this so wonderful, she says, even as Vernon finishes growing the vines on the Harkul women and then raises up a hand. They float upwards and he walks up to Miro Noir and they clasp hands before walking back to the flabbergasted officers. It's that easy to prevent damage for you? Finrigor asks. Yes, Miro Noir says. I was referring to the sorcerer. I was there when the city shaker hit the capital. He only went for one person. He only wanted one person, and the whole city was forced to its knees anyways. Ma'am, I'm sure you as an officer of the law don't need any explanation of the difference between someone having gone berserk and deliberate and conscious action. I am not upset. I am not berserk. This isn't a personal issue. It's just something that needs to be done, Vernon says. I see. Now, where do you want our aggressors? I've also sent their weapons into a storeroom in the dark forest, so where do you want those dumped out? Vernon asks. Oh, Ton, over here. You're working the transport pod, so work with him to get the Harkuls ported up, Finrigor calls to the recovered officers. They've been using the damaged APC as a base of sort and had been moving all the captured Barless through it. One of the conscious Barless takes one look at the approaching flock of unconscious Harkul and throws her head back to laugh. Serves the bitches right. Ah ha ha. At least I know the raging cunts are going down with us. She cackles with glee. Keep moving, miss. You're going to a cell so we can sort this latest round of absolute nonsense out. The officer behind states and she groans in disgust as she's forced to take a step forward. Why bother? We know what's going to happen. A lot of threats. Some useless files get shuffled, and everyone's back home in a week. Only way this ends is if the Harkuls finally die. Hey, then there may even be justice on Serbo. Won't that be nice? Back home in a week? Miro Noir demands Finrigor, who groans. I've tried. I've been trying for years. Petitions and requests and everything short of outright threats to properly separate the damn families. A forced relocation of both to different duchies that have at least one between them will do a lot to calm this down. But it's blocked at every turn and I don't know where. Officer Finrigor says. That is a pity, and speaking of pity, where is the address of the Harkuls? With most of them captured here and now their children need to be taken into protective custody. 97 West Crest Avenue. I'll show you the way myself. I don't expect much trouble with a battle princess beside me, Finrigor says. Of course, Miro Noir says with a pleasant smile. She then turns back to Vernon. Darling, I'm going with the good officer here to fetch the Harkul children. Do play nice with these ladies. Fear not, my love, I will resist the temptation, Vernon assures her with a laugh and a wave. That was a joke, I hope, Finrey Gore says. Oh yes, he's normally quite gentle, Miro Noir says, and Finrey Gore gives her a questioning look. You're talking about the alien super soldier that supposedly became a sorcerer more or less the instant he made contact with the Dark Forest, a creature from beyond the edge of the axiom who emerged from a pit where life was thought to be impossible. Yes, that's who I'm referring to, Mire Noir says in an amused tone as she follows Finrey Gore through the unfamiliar streets. However, you forgot something, which is, he's also the pioneer and master of an extremely deadly axiom style, one that lets him do horrific things to his opponents. Why, the first example I saw in battle was instantly fatal and reduced the bodies of his enemies into a biohazard threat. What? He turned their blood into a potent acid, Mire Noir admits. You're enjoying this, Finrey Gore accuses. Somewhat, I keep forgetting just how frightening he is to other people. The worst it gets for me is that he's overly cuddly when he sleeps. Waking up and finding that you've been cuddled like an oversized doll takes some getting used to, but it's just another layer of absolute sweetness. Are all battle princesses this odd, or have I just had an interesting turn of luck? Finrey Gore mutters under her breath. I am rather odd compared to the others. I was so picky trying to find a husband they called me Mire Noir, the matchless, behind my back. Now those same girls are eating their words as I have a devoted husband and a beautiful clutch of daughters, Mire Noir boasts. This is what I get for not watching the news or listening to gossip, Officer Finrey Gore mutters to herself. Oh, why don't you? Oh, it's always just bad news and never the good. Stations make too much money over the next sensationalist bit of nonsense, and only the worst things really stick out. So I cut out a huge source of stress from my life by just not listening to it. To be completely fair, I tend to ignore major news sources myself. I do, however, skim summarizations every week, just to make sure some strange law or happening hasn't completely caught me off guard. Although listening to my fellow battle princesses and being there when my Vernon speaks to his fellows keeps me abreast of a great deal as well, Mire Noir says. Although to be fair, listening to the sheer madness that Vernon and his fellows seem to be addicted to really leaves me in awe some days. They can't seem to help but take any warnings or danger signs as encouragement. Really? Oh yes. Telling them that it's dangerous always gets the question of why and how, usually followed by a dismissal of the risk as they embrace it wholeheartedly. Mire Noir says even as Finrey Gore leads her up to a large house that clearly has the axiom enhancement to be larger on the inside. The front door is open and Officer Finrey Gore leads the way in. Now, these children will have at least one woman guarding them, and no doubt the house is trapped in some way. I cannot wait to hear the explanation as to how things got this way, Mire Noir says plainly. Then there's a slight click in the wall and her hand snaps out to catch a blade shooting out even as Finrey Gore ducks away with a curse. Crazy damn Harcool witches! Oh yes, it's going to be a good one. Mire Noir can't help but note to herself. Then the nearby wall opens wide and out slides an Apook man with a plasma cannon at the ready. His eyes widen at the sight of Mire Noir. Oh no, he says, ducking back into the room. Get to the... He's cut off at that point as Mire Noir is considerably faster, capable of casually teleporting and knocking him out with a poke. She then looks to the right and her mood dips to see the 10 horrified small children and the 2 boys they're circling around protectively.